Joining me now, Missouri Senator Eric Schmitt. Senator, thank you so much for joining us. What is it that these universities think that they can get away with this without suffering any sort of consequences?
Well, they had a lot of friends in high places, and President Trump's turning the tables on them now. These universities that you mentioned, Harvard, Columbia, they're the elitist of the elite. They are the wokest of the woke. They are the worst of the worst. And for a long time, they've employed discriminatory practices based on race for Asian students, white students. The Supreme Court ruled that way just a year ago. And now those practices are going a little bit underground. And I think we're going to learn a lot more about that. They've had segregated graduation ceremonies for every group except for white students and Jewish students. And Harvard in particular and Columbia are tied for last with a 0.0 rating, free speech rating. That's a Blutarsky. That's an Animal House reference, of course, for college. That's nothing. They're the worst. That means that if you're a conservative student, you get shut down. If you're a conservative professor, you might get canceled. So these folks are total hypocrites when it comes to free speech. They don't honor that important principle that you can say your piece in the town square. They allow the intimidation in the closing and these encampments to intimidate. They allow that, and they are continuing to engage in discriminatory admission practices. And so it's about time that somebody called them out on it.
And I love that you make the point, the very important point, that the best argument you might make against the Trump administration is that they're going after protesters who are supporting Palestine. But these are not bastions of free speech. And in fact, it's not a surprise for anyone who's paid attention to anything that inherently racist programs like DEI winds up leading to the exact situation where you have the Harvard president saying, yeah, we got a real anti-Semitism problem on campus.
That's right. And I gave a speech on the Senate floor a year or so ago talking about this. If you want to understand what's going on in college campuses, you shouldn't be all that surprised because this race essentialism, this DEI, this cultural Marxism has infected our universities. They view every room, every situation you divide by oppressor and oppressed, and it has real consequences. And I think we finally have an administration that's willing to stand up to it.
I don't need to tell you what voters are sitting around, when they read these stories and they realize, oh, and we're giving $1 billion a year to Harvard University that has an endowment of $53 billion. How does this even happen to the innocent taxpayer?
It's insane. And by the way, the legacy media sort of runs with these stories that they're cutting research funding. The truth of the matter is, what President Trump has talked about the administration is on NIH funding is that your overhead can only be 15%. A lot of these universities like Columbia and Harvard, their overhead is like 78%. So if you actually brought that, and that's for bureaucrats, that's for that kind of infrastructure, these people, these tenured folks that have been around for a long time, it's not going to research. If President Trump actually gets his way, you're going to have more money for research. But if you're going to engage in discriminatory practices like these universities, that money's not going to come your way. That's the ultimate hammer, again, to get back to this free speech idea, and you won't discriminate against students based on their race.
If a charity were doing it, they would be locked up for running a scam operation. So, Senator, thank you so much for joining us.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.